Okay, everybody, welcome back to Your Crisis Coach with Scott H. Silverman. Everybody clap for Fred Carroll. Yeah. What's up, Scotty?
Not much, Fred. It's what an interesting month it's been.
Interesting week.
I kind of wanted to clump it together with January because it seems like based on how things are going, we're going to see a lot more activity. So what are your first thoughts about, let's start with the top, work our way sideways about how the new administration's doing its first week.
Well, I do have thoughts on it because it's strange that I'm still leaning left, but I've got these weird feeling. I like some of the process or the thought process of it. I don't like the way they're engaging on certain things. I get all together. I understand and get the law is the law. You're legal, you're legal. You're illegal, you're illegal. That's fine when it's black and white like that.
Right.
But it feels like I'll use one of Trump's favorite words, witch hunt almost against everybody of not white. You know, it's weird. It's strange, the attack that they're doing. And I don't know how to wrap my head around it. I don't know what we could do about it because he's loosely labeling everybody a criminal that is here illegally. And technically, by the technical terms, that does make them a criminal by being illegal. It's weird to me. I don't know. I don't root for it. I hate seeing it. But at the same time, I get parts of his process, maybe parts of the way they're thinking. It's strange. All of it's strange.
Yeah, I think, well, let's just set the immigration side or the deportation campaign aside for a second. I mean, I read today, they just fired everybody that was on Jack Smith's team when he was being investigated. Everyone in the DOJ was let go today. That was part of that. So, and the inspector generals. So that's not even a witch hunt. That's just almost like anybody he felt may have harmed him or tried to, he's going to eliminate their position. And then, of course, there was evidently, my daughter was telling me this, a large group of new attorneys coming into the DOJ. and all of them got their job offers rescinded because I think he wanted to do it. He wants to make sure that whatever the criteria is that he uses is done his way. So, and he looks at life through a certain lens, clearly. And I think a lot of how he does business is he throws a rock through the window and looks to see who puts their head through first and decides what he's going to do next based on how people react around him. And if they're not ring kissers, they become ineligible at every level. I mean, at every level. And he's only been at it a week. And, he obviously had a list to put together well before this. And he's meeting with the GOP leaders today in Florida. So he's having these off-site meetings. I call them off-site meetings in his residence, or what they call the White House South. And so, and he's not real transparent about it. So, I'm kind of excited to see that he's going to shake things up. Again, setting the deportation part aside, because I think, it needs to be done. I mean, they're going to go through and they're going to probably find a lot of, for lack of a better word, waste. And it's going to be very scary for quite a while. And there's going to be a lot of people out of work. And, then he took the security details off of a few of his key individuals like Fauci and who was the other guy, Pompeo. So,
yep.
He's done some really wild things, not necessarily bad things, but they don't appear to be done in a way that would be considered professional. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
to your
agree.
point, it may need to be done, but the way he's doing it, but he doesn't need to gain support from anybody. He doesn't have any customer service relations. He doesn't practice sensitivity training. He doesn't really, to be honest, he doesn't care. It's going to be my way or the highway.
I don't like the fakeness of politics to begin with. And as it goes on both sides, similar to him flying to California. Now, I understand California is part of the United States. He's the president. He should be there. But all this pomp and circumstance of shaking hands and nodding with each other, it's so fake because they both clearly have spoken about each other and how much disdain they have for each other. And I understand working together. Yeah, I don't like everybody at my work. Well, I like everybody. I don't love everybody at my work. But I have to work with them.
You don't get permission to mistreat or disregard or disrespect those you don't like. I mean, who does that and survives in their environment? But he does that, and he always has. But when you talk to people that say, well, when you get him on a one-on-one, he's a great guy. And I only say that. I'm going to pivot here for a second. I saw Bill Maher. Is it Bill Maher? Maher? You know, the comedian guy who has his own talk show and, podcast. And I saw an hour interview with Matt Gaetz. It was impressive. You know, when you see that guy on a one-on-one. And, you know, he did ask him some of those sensitive questions, and Matt Gaetz responded. And the funny thing was, Bill says to him, would you like a hit? I guess he was smoking a blunt or something when he was interviewing him. They were having cocktails. And then I thought I heard Matt say, I can't, I'm on Molly. I don't want to smoke stuff right now. It was on YouTube. If you're interested, I'll send you the link. But it was on a one-on-one, you know, it's hard to be political when you're talking to a human being. And, you know, the Republicans are human beings, so are the Democrats. But you're right, on both sides of the aisle. I mean, it clearly, if things weren't done for political reasons and the human factor was part of the decision-making process, I think, you know, we'd have different types of dialogue because it seems so adversarial because it's political, or as political becomes adversarial.
Yeah, I don't like the flip-flop. I don't like being left in the dark, like you said, how it's not very transparent how he's going about things. But at the same time, does he have to be? Apparently not. He's above the law. It's clear he's above the law, and he knows it, and he's got all the power. He's always had all the power of that. For some reason, people really, really forgive him for his sins all the time. Even if me and you do the same thing that he did, some of those same people would say, lock us up.
Oh, no, they wouldn't say it. They would lock us up.
Yeah,
you know?
But with him, it's okay.
He's been litigious for so long. He knows that even if he knows he's guilty, the way the court system works, he's got years to figure out a way to do workarounds. And so he's gotten really, really good at it. And now that he has full immunity, the only way that they're ever going to get rid of him is impeachment, or what is that, Article 25, where they can pull that card and he gets eliminated. He may not have, you know, they may not have a way to convict him because he has full immunity, but they can technically get him out of office, and J.D. Vance could become the president. So, and I think there are some people that may have that plan.
He's another guy. J.D. Vance is another odd guy also.
Oh, yeah.
With the way he supports and answers, but at least when he speaks, I hear intelligence of some sort. Whether he's saying something intelligent, I don't know. But I hear the way he speaks is very soft and gentle, much gentler with his choice of words that he uses.
Well, you know, I think he's a good speaker, and I think he's smart, like you said, and I think he knows how to kind of handle the crowd, and he really does well with the press. And it's amazing how he always uses the interviewer's name when he talks with them. So it's really kind of hard to disarm him when he's calling you by your first name. You know what I'm saying? Where he
Yeah,
says,
it's
"Well,
like
you know,
what you
Fred,
do with your
you know,
kidnapper.
Fred." What's that?
When you're a kidnapper, that's what they say all the time. If you're ever kidnapped, make sure you mention your name and your parents' names and to humanize yourself. It makes them human. That's exactly what it does. It makes him human.
Yeah,
Um,
he's been schooled in it. You know, look, that guy came a long way in a very short period of time. You don't see that very often in politics. And I think, well, look, first of all, we've got the situation for 4 years. And I respect the office of the presidency. And look, he was voted in, as far as we know, fair and square. So I just, I learned the other day that I have to feel the pain. And if I feel the pain, I'll process it more effectively. And rather than giving it, space and renting it in my space to rent in my head, because I don't want to be the one who feels bad all the time, and we're watching obviously the hostages coming out of Israel, which is, just great to see. And, today marks the 80th year of the Holocaust. So, and then watching Elon Musk say, don't blame the children for what the fathers did. And then, of course, that salute that he did, that I don't even know if he's actually denied it, but, he was saying, see the love, or here's the love. So it's just amazing. To your point, if anybody else were to do something like that, they'd be done. They'd be finished. Do you remember Al Franken?
yeah,
When,
yeah,
when he got ousted, he was grabbing people and rubbing up against them and making weird remarks. When you look at what he did and what happened to him, that was nothing. It's like, he started a fire in somebody's car and two cameras caught him. So his career was over.
yeah. Well, also too many times, victims have taken money over truth. That's on them too. This could have all been eliminated if the certain amount of victims didn't choose money over telling the story. Think of the people that have been bought off. But onto a bigger subject of addiction and stuff. Do you see this border stuff preventing lowering numbers?
You mean lowering as far as bringing product into the country?
Yeah.
I just checked with someone today that I know knows. Let me bring it up. Because I said, will the cartel
Because a lot of my point is, or does it just make an American stronger who deals with the same stuff?
hang on, I just got a text from our guest.
Yeah.
Should I call in now?
Ask him to just reschedule. That's all.
You want to do next week?
Yeah, if he can. If he could do next Monday, that's fine. No harm, no foul. We got enough to talk about.
So I want to read this to you because it was kind of interesting what he said. I asked him, I said, because it seems like with all of the Border Patrol and the people working at the border, their energy is going to go towards the deportation. I said, will the cartel take advantage of all the Border Patrol and ICE focusing on immigrants to move more product? And the answer was no. If anything, the pressure on the border will get much tighter. It's going to take some time for the restructure of the Border Patrol, deployments and funding. And he says, I think the cartels are sitting around a big table saying, what's this terrorist declaration mean for them? So technically, the president has put together an executive order classifying the cartel with a terrorist declaration. And when you have in our country now, that would mean that they would be considered federal criminals. And I think it will fall under the umbrella of Homeland Security, which in theory has unlimited access, and I think can get unlimited resources to go after the I assume the cartel, the distributors, the manufacturers, China, precursors. So I think that we're going to see a slowdown, but that's going to drive prices up, number one, because demand is not going to just change in the U.S. And then we're going to see people substituting, going after other things over the counter, vaping again. Alcohol consumption could go up. Heroin could go back up. So
And crime at the same time.
of course, because people don't have the disposable income. If all of a sudden their edibles or whatever they're taking goes up twice in price, and it will, because distributors won't have the same intake, so they're going to charge more.
Yeah. So, well, one thing I like about these discussions is that's what they are. Neither of us are wishing harm on our country or the presidency and stuff. And I am very balanced in that. I know how to separate that dislike. I don't even say hate. I don't know him. I don't know President Trump to hate him. I dislike him. I dislike some of the things he does. But some of them are necessary, and every president's going to go through whatever they have to. You can't please everyone. You got to please the masses. I'd like to see him at least stay on track to what he promised and stuff and see if that pans out and stuff. But I don't know. Overall, like you said, it's 4 years.
You know that guy, Dana White? I think we've spoken about him, the world fight championship guy. He said something interesting. He says, Donald Trump is one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And he said, if you think about the fact that he's going to be elected, he got elected. He made this statement a couple of weeks ago. And with all the stuff he's been through, he's still fighting hard. That takes a certain kind of individual to do it. And to your point, if he'll focus, which he hasn't demonstrated he really can, but some of these younger people that he's brought around him, if they maybe help him focus with that kind of power, that kind of energy, and that kind of resilience, there are a lot of good things that he could do. But unfortunately, his history is so self-serving that how is he going to, benefit the population when you saw what his attitude was during COVID? It's almost like those people don't have an impact on anything I do. They're going to have to figure out a way. He kept throwing it back to the states. So I don't know. I have no idea. And it's not even political for him. I think it's just power,
Yeah, it's quite a strange situation. I don't have a reason to either to feel in danger of any sort. But I do see where, what's being done with, like, I think it was I'm trying to think which sister. One of my sisters mentioned how it had to be my older sister who lives out in Idaho. The farms, how they're suffering because the workers aren't showing up to work because they're afraid they're going to get raided. They're not showing up.
8% of the workforce. I mean, California, we grow, what is it, almost 40% of the vegetables and fruits in the country. And probably 90% of the workers here are Hispanic. And probably 80 or 90% of those are not necessarily here legally because there was a demand for their need, and I think that's going to, imagine what the prices are going to be on fruits and vegetables if they decide they have to unionize people and pay 3 or 4 times the cost for labor plus benefits and everything else. So we're not going to know that for probably a good year, but and eggs just went up again. And, one of his big promises was we're going to lower food costs. Yeah. And then JD Vance said last night or yesterday on Sunday show, it's going to take time. So there's already this backpedaling thing because you can't fix things that have taken years to get to a certain point. They're not going to get fixed overnight. So, but I don't know. There is kind of something exciting about the fact that maybe it's just me that, everything's going to be shaken up. Good, bad, or indifferent on both sides of the aisle, no matter where you're at.
Well, the good thing is we're always looking for guests. to shift into a different part here before we wind up. But
What kind of guests do you want? What kind of guests do you want, Fred?
well, we're looking for guests of all kinds. We really aren't, we do focus on, even though we've been talking politics the last 2 episodes, we try to keep it civil, respectful to your beliefs, understanding that you may not believe what we're saying or be on board with it, but we're trying not to be disrespectful in any way. Even if you have opposing opinions, that's fine. But we do focus on addiction. We do focus on addiction recovery. We focus on homelessness, and we like the politics that are involved in restructuring that system to fix it. But there's parents, there's children. We're really looking for anybody who's willing to come on and have a healthy conversation. And we never know who's going to have the best idea, who's going to be able to do something. But if you're a do-gooder and you want the world to be better, come on the show.
You know what? Yeah, and I like the idea of, there's a lot of mental health providers because I work with them all the time, and they're concerned about their clients because everyone's having a hard time right now. I mean, everyone, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you're making tons of money in crypto and one day it won't be tons of money or you're struggling because you're waiting for everything to change. I'd like to, I don't mind talking to people who, have been through it, lived experience. It doesn't even have to be an expert. I like or a family member of someone who has lived experience. I've had people from my home group on here. So I like the idea of being challenged. I think it's important. Plus it helps us.
Oh yeah. Me and you, listen, we don't have all the answers. We want to have all the answers, but we don't have them all. And we're not always right or correct. Sometimes we're prognosticating, but we're trying. There's effort in there, and that's all we're looking for.
We're creating a platform for people to speak their mind, to come on and say, you know what, you guys you're talking about some good stuff, but there's a couple things here you might have missed. And I said, that's good to hear, because one of the things you didn't mention in your menu there is also mental health. Because everything that's going on today impacts everyone's mental health, their overall well-being. I talked to a family today, and, I asked the significant other, I said, are you familiar with the term self-care? She's trying to take care of the spouse and that has the children and, is losing themselves in this whole process right now. And it happened pretty quickly. Courts involved, lawyers involved. So that can really, that's going to disenfranchise a lot of people if they don't come to some sort of a, happy medium, and they're working on it. But, once you get lawyers involved, it changes the way you communicate, because you're not communicating, and you maybe shouldn't be communicating. You have to go through an intermediary or some form of mediation. So I hope that we can engage some people that want, need, or understand, or have experience, or have some insight. It'd be great.
Yeah, and we could also, you don't have to show your face. Some people don't like to. You don't have to give your real name. We could do anonymous stuff. I have no problem with somebody's anonymity being kept secret between me and you. Obviously we'll see you and stuff like that, but we have no problem with any of that. And me and you are trustworthy people in that. But okay, Scott. So we were supposed to have a guest today. We didn't have the guest today. Something happened on his end, which is fine. We rescheduled him, I believe, for next week or the week after. We'll figure that out later. But you want to give your phone number before we sign off?
Yeah, I do. And I have to practice, because at some point, if I'm not careful, if I get some timers, I might forget it, and you may have to put it up there with my name. So Scott A. Silverman, always Google me, 619-993-2738. And let me once again invite you, if you're hearing this, you're seeing this, and you think you might have something you'd like to add, or something you'd like to bring, or something you think we should be talking about, let us know. We'll figure out a way to figure out a way.
Yep. And that's going to be it, Scott. So this is your crisis coach with Scott H. Silverman and me, Fred Carroll. And if no one has told you they love you today, we love you, and we will talk to you again next week. That's it. That's it.